Welcome to Vespa Prime. The Federation calls it an arthropod-dominant biosphere. The grunts holding the line call it the buzz. This planet is a sprawling, humid hive, louder than a jet engine runway, where every niche of the ecosystem is filled by something with 6 legs and an exoskeleton. But the true nightmare here isn't the giant beetles or the venomous wasps. It's the myriad mortis, the chitin shroud. They are carnivorous microlocusts, individually no bigger than a grain of rice. A single one is an annoyance. A million is a cloud that can strip a cow to bone in minutes. A trillion is a sentient hive mind capable of complex problem-solving and psychological warfare. They don't just eat, they learn. They realize that the easiest way past our automated defenses wasn't to overwhelm them, but to trick them. They cluster together, vibrating their wings to generate heat and sound, forming perfect, walking replicas of the soldiers they have consumed. They wear their armor. They mimic their gait. They vibrate their wings together to modulate voices, crying out for help in the stolen tones of your dead squad mates. They walk up to the gate, looking like a lost patrol finally coming home, and when you open the door to let them in, the soldier dissolves into a swirling black cloud that pours into your helmet and eats your eyes first. Standard ballistic weapons are useless. Shooting a cloud of bugs with a rifle is like trying to stop a sandstorm with a needle. Fire is too slow against their sheer numbers. That's why they send us. The 40th Engineering Corps. The Volt Guard. The Bug Zappers. We don't deal in kinetic energy. We deal in raw voltage. We wear Faraday suits, cumbersome, heavily insulated rubber and lead armor bonded with copper grounding cages. We carry backpacks that are essentially unstable fusion batteries chained to capacitor banks. Our weapons are Tesla rifles that fire chain lightning, arc throwers that project cones of plasma, and electrified mauls for close-quarters extermination. Our job is to turn the very air into an execution chamber. I am Captain Sparky Vance, and I smell like ozone and burnt chitin 24/7. Our mission: reinforce Outpost Epsilon, a critical listening post deep in the jungle that had gone silent after reporting friendlies approaching the wire. We knew what that meant. The Shroud was knocking. We heli-dropped into the compound under the cover of a tropical storm. The air was already thick with electricity, the jungle screaming around the small, fortified perimeter. The garrison was terrified, huddled behind their Duracrete walls, staring into the rain-soaked dark. Status report, I demanded of the pale-faced garrison commander. They're out there, Captain, he whispered. Lieutenant Kalen's platoon. We watched them die 3 days ago on long-range scanners. But they're out there right now, standing just beyond the lights, asking to come in. I looked over the wall. Through the rain and the night vision haze, I saw them. 12 figures in Federation armor, standing perfectly still 50 meters from the gate. They looked ragged, injured. One was leaning on another. Then the wind shifted and the sound hit us. It wasn't human speech. It was a low, vibrating buzz that modulated into recognizable words, like a radio tuned slightly off station. Open the gate. Command. We are hurt. The voice was Kalen's, but stripped of all inflection, a hollow recording played on insect wings. That's not your lieutenant, I said, charging the capacitors on my heavy Tesla cannon, the hum of my weapon rising in pitch. That's Dinner trying to ring the doorbell. Volt Guard on the wall. Prepare the welcoming committee. My squad, Heavy, Sparks, and Conduit, lined up on the parapet, their arc throwers glowing blue. On my mark. Light 'em up, I ordered. The Shroud realized the ruse had failed. The 12 soldiers suddenly collapsed inward. They didn't fall, they dissolved. The armor they were carrying clattered to the ground, empty. In their place, 12 dense, swirling black clouds rose into the air and merged into a single massive tidal wave of insects. The buzz intensified into a deafening roar that drowned out the thunder. The clouds surged forward, moving with impossible speed toward the perimeter fence. Mark. We opened fire. My Tesla cannon spat a thick, blinding blue-white bolt of lightning that struck the center of the cloud. The air instantly heated to plasma. Thousands of insects vaporized instantly, popping like wet firecrackers. The lightning chained, arcing from bug to bug, creating a glittering spiderweb of death inside the swarm. Sparks and Conduit opened up with arc throwers, projecting wide cones of sustained electrical fire. The front of the swarm hit the wall of energy and ignited. It smelled like burning hair and ozone. But there were too many of them. The sheer momentum of trillions of tiny bodies pushed the dead ones forward. The cloud slammed into the perimeter fence. The fence was rated for 50,000 volts. It groaned under the strain. The moment the swarm made contact, The entire fence line lit up brighter than the sun. It was a continuous, agonizing shriek of electricity discharging into biomass. Smoke poured off the wire as millions of bugs were fried instantly, their tiny bodies fused together, forming a bridge for the ones behind them. They're grounding out the fence. The bodies are piling too high. Heavy yelled over the roar. The swarm was climbing over its own dead. A black carpet of insects flowed over the top of the electrified wire, pouring into the compound like crude oil. Fall back. Defensive ring around the generator. I roared. We retreated from the walls, forming a tight circle around the outpost's main fusion reactor in the center of the courtyard. The garrison troops were firing their rifles wildly, uselessly, until the swarm enveloped them. Their screams were cut short as the insects flooded their helmets. The Shroud circled us. We were an island of blue light in a sea of black chitin. Our suits were sealed, insulated, but I could feel the static charge building on my skin. The swarm changed tactics. It stopped flowing and began to condense. Right in front of us, the insects clustered together, piling higher and higher, forming a solid, undulating mass. It took the shape of a 20-foot-tall humanoid, a Goliath mimic made of pure hate and hunger. It raised a massive fist made of a billion bugs and swung it at Conduit. Conduit raised his arc shield. The impact was like being hit by a wrecking ball. He slid backward 10 feet, his boots gouging the concrete, but the electrical field held the swarm back. It's too dense. The arcs aren't penetrating deep enough. Sparks yelled, pouring fire into the Goliath's torso, only for the insects to cycle out and reform. We were losing the war of attrition. Our batteries were draining. The jungle was endless and the swarm was growing. We need a bigger bug zapper, I growled, looking at the fusion reactor behind us. Heavy, pop the safeties on the main capacitor bank. We're doing a thunderclap. Captain, that will blow every circuit in a 10-mile radius. It might fry us too. Better fried than eaten. Do it. Heavy smashed the containment glass on the reactor controls and slammed the emergency discharge lever. Cover. Discharge in 3, 2. I braced myself, digging my rubberized boots into the ground. The Goliath mimic loomed over me, its buzzing roar deafening, ready to crush me. 1. The reactor didn't explode. It dumped its entire stored output in a single, omnidirectional microsecond burst. The world turned white. A sphere of pure, raw electricity expanded from the center of the compound. It was silent, a pressure wave of pure voltage that passed through everything. The sound came a second later, a crack of thunder so loud it ruptured eardrums. The Goliath mimic didn't have time to deconstruct. The massive electrical surge hit it squarely. For a fraction of a second, it was a towering statue of glowing blue light, every single insect inside the structure electrocuted simultaneously. Then it collapsed into a steaming heap of ash. The wave hit the fence, vaporizing the insect bridge. It hit the jungle, arcing through the wet trees, silencing the buzz for kilometers. Our Faraday suits held, though my HUD shorted out and smoke poured from my battery pack. I fell to my knees, gasping for air that smelled like a burned fuse factory. The silence that followed was heavy. The rain began to fall again, washing the ash away. I stood up, shaking. The compound was a wreck. The generator was slag. But the ground was covered in a foot-deep layer of dead, twitching black bugs. Heavy popped his helmet seal, coughing. Did we get him, Cap? I looked at the mounds of dead mimics, the silence of the jungle, and the smoking ruin of our own gear. We got this wave, Heavy, I said, kicking a pile of chitin. But the jungle always has more batteries than we do. Time to call for extraction. Before they recharge. Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the green hell. The enemy can be legion. They can be a hive mind that steals the faces of our dead. They can be a force of nature that overwhelms through sheer biomass. But we are the masters of the lightning. We discovered electricity and we weaponized it. When the jungle tries to swarm us, we don't just fight back. We flip the switch and turn their entire world into the electric chair. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The buzz is silenced. The voltage is king. If you enjoyed this high-amperage battle against a billion bug army, smash that like button, and check your grounding wires. Comment below. What's worse, one giant monster or a trillion tiny ones that work together? Subscribe for the next story in Saga 17, The Green Hell, The Nostalgia Thorns. The circuit is blown. The swarm is dead. The outpost holds.